I was born in Germany, was educated in Germany, and finally was married in Germany and had my 2 children. Hitler had come in the meantime, and living became very difficult. My husband was in danger, and so was I, actually. We, that's to say, my husband, my children, and myself came to Bolivia in 1940-41. Bolivia is a country in South America that has no sea coast, but otherwise it has lots of land and very little population. Most of the people are very, very poor, living in the countryside or on the outskirts of the bigger towns. They are Indians, of course. There are, of course, also rich people, but they are a very small and overbearing minority, and we can leave them to their own concerns because they'll never lack for professional help for their health or for whatever they need. Actually, I came here as a doctor for the nice families and also the diplomatic corps. And somehow, any doctor or any professional person, after a while, accumulates the kind of clientele that is good for him insofar as those people feel well with you and comfortable, and you feel well with them. And this happened to be, without any intention, the Aymara Indian people for me. So we really feel good together. The Aymara people have a very solid basis for their being, and they are quite articulate about it. They say, we have withstood the Incas when they came, and then the Spanish, and then the Republic, and now the military. And probably we'll still be there when all these others are gone.
Doctora is truly attached to the neighborhood. and she knows everyone in the neighborhood.
Como rato antes decía de que a la doctora Tichau la conocí muy joven.
I met Dr. Tichauer when she was very young, about 40 years ago, more or less. There was a revolution and there were many wounded and many dead, and we picked up a lot of them on the street, and the ambulances also came, and we took them to the Doctora. And ever since then till today, Doctora has been with us. She has her medical office here, on the corner just beyond the Grand Poder Church. And even today, if someone is poor, it doesn't matter. She doesn't charge them. And every Monday, her office is always packed. She gives her patients medicine and cures them of any disease that she can, the doctor. The neighborhood loves her.
We started in '46, and that was on behalf of the Junta de Vecinos, which is a neighborhood organization, about 8 or 12 representatives of this neighborhood. Men all came with their black ties and dark suits and invited me, as they had watched me working for the Red Cross. And they wanted me to settle here, and they helped me to do that, so we came. And then I said, as you have been so kind and so hospitable, I think I have to do something for my part, and so I'll dedicate one afternoon of the week to the poor people of this neighborhood.
Cuando me lava así con agua, doctorita, diciendo, y cuando no me lava, doctorita, quiero hacerme volver. ¿Funciona el estómago todos los días? Sí, doctorita.
While we started with just a physician and a few attendants, more and more people had to come in to give all those services that are outside the field of medicine. What grew together was a very loose group of all sorts of people who knew this or that or the other, everyone doing their thing. And this is what we call our team. The team are all people from the neighborhood. Now, Doña Uber, the head nurse, has been here for 25 years, and of course, she is a queen here. And everybody here tells her all their troubles, and then only it kind of comes back to me.
I met Doctora when the Doctora was working in the Red Cross, no? When I used to go to see Doctora as a patient. I've known her for maybe some 40 years. We do everything, and since I am the nurse at the consultorio, well, we take care of all the patients who come, especially from the countryside, no? We've also gone to visit the miners because they complained that the doctors they have didn't explain things well. When they've come and said our services were needed, we have gone there.
And Professor Gomez was here as a little child helper. We always used to have child helpers who carry thermometers back and forth or take patients from the countryside to the drugstore.
Fue, como decía, una travesura cuando yo pequeño.
When I was a kid, we always played football in the street every day. And then, suddenly, this car appeared. Right away, we wanted to take off the tires. Finally, we just took the air out of them because we didn't like that car always parked right there in the middle of our soccer field. And on top of that, we knew the car belonged to a gringa. Well, the doctor kept trying her best to find out who was always letting out the air in her tires. And that's how we met. I was taken to her, and the first thing she said was, "Oh, I've always wanted to meet you, so I could ask you to watch my car for me." So after that, I began to guard her car. And since I was the one who'd always been messing around with her tires, she didn't have any more trouble. That's how I got involved in the consultorio. Gradually, I was closing up, calling out people's names, taking campesinos to the hospital for x-rays. So that's how I met Doctora, and I've worked with her till now.
There are many medical problems that have legal consequences. Many people who come here don't even have birth certificates or personal identity cards. The largest number of cases we have here involve family problems. Abandoned pregnant women, abandoned families, and criminal cases. We help negotiate the legalization of land titles for the campesinos, as well as claims against different institutions. Our work is mostly to protect the rights of people who don't have any income and can't afford to consult with a lawyer. When I was a student, I knew Dr. Ruth's work. Then, when I returned from 2 years of residency in the jungle, in the Beni, I immediately joined her team. And with her advice and encouragement, I became a leader in the community.
And the people, patients, there are more than 100,000 individual files here. And we have them through 2 and 3 generations. And they come from practically all over Bolivia, because this is the place, the neighborhood, where the big trucks come from the interior. So we had lots of people, patients coming from the interior, and then they would say, couldn't you come to my community because I have a sick mother, or I have somebody who can't come. Then we said, now if it isn't only one person who is sick, because we can't move a whole number of people, the whole team, and a big car for a whole day, just for one person. If there are more people who are interested in seeing us, and if the representatives of the community want us, then you invite us, and then we do come. On a roadside clinic, get up before 5. Then we go to wherever we are supposed to go, and on the way we have breakfast and see the sun come up. Very pretty sunrises in the Altiplano. ¿Dónde están? Llámenlos pues con la cocina.
Todas las personas le tienen respeto a la doctora porque...
Everyone respects Doctora because of her directness and enormous simplicity. She doesn't act proud or expect people to look up to her like other professionals. In her way of dressing, for example, she wears the same kind of shoes as the Indians do, and she doesn't carry a leather case like most doctors. She carries a basket. Also, when she goes to the countryside, she eats the same food as the peasants. And in her own home, she doesn't discriminate either. She loves to cook and she shares her food with everyone. In Bolivia, this way of doing things is very hard to find among foreigners and many professionals who view Indians more as servants than equals.
Pan blanco o negro, eso no.
Negro.
I was born as the daughter of the Egyptologist of Königsberg University, which is the University of Kant in Germany. And that was a very stimulating place to grow up in. I went to college first in my own city of Königsberg, and when I finally did go to the university and I wanted to study biology, my chief said, you can become an assistant in university as a woman. You aren't made to be an assistant. Why don't you go and study the biology of the creature that's best known of all, that's man, go into medicine. That's how I got into medicine. Bolivia, like other developing countries, has still a very great mutual distrust between city life and rural life. The rural people are, of course, dominated in many ways by the city people who have the money and who give the laws, and to the profit of the town rather than the rural population. They see that. And on the other hand, the city people remember the big Indian uprisings and are afraid of the Indians. So one of our tasks was to bring modern medicine, city medicine, to the rural people, campesinos.
Doña Elena, póngase su bonito. Hoy día nos quieren tomar una foto y después vamos a ver la foto.
People in the city do not know the Aymaras. People in the city are modern people, are already mixed with all sorts of other influences, or just with so-called progress, and tell you that the Indians are the thing that is holding Bolivia back. And you can hear the same thing in many developing countries, that the original rural people are supposed to be useless for modern techniques and modern life. They are not. They have helped me develop a technique that's good for them and that somebody in the World Health Organization has taken away, written down to Africa, where they seem to have similar conditions. When they start, they find us in their own villages or communities, in an open-air clinic, where nobody needs to be afraid because you can see from afar. It isn't that bad. You can see your own neighbors stepping on the scales, talking to someone, giving shots or tablets afterwards. It's all very open and it builds up confidence.
Well.
49, doctor.
Su balance parece.
At this first contact, you would want to get a very short report on what the patient thought was wrong. And you wanted to get, if possible, name, which the first time would probably be given incorrectly, because if you have the name of some person, you can do magic with it. And you wanted to try and to get at least the temperature and the pulse.
¿Por qué no escuchamos a beneficio de nuestros amigos?
And you are supposed to know the terms of Aymara medicine, what is meant when a ball of fire goes up and down in your chest. That is acidity of the stomach. And then as soon as you have more or less an idea what could make that person feel better, that patient, and could relieve that pain that he or she feels, you try and give the first dose of medicine yourself. And if that was successful, if they feel that you are not a dangerous person, they'll come back again. We take people's likes and dislikes into account. So we aren't going to take the clothes off everyone, because the Aymara Indians hate it. They are very careful. Of course, if you want to have a gynecological examination, or if somebody wants to show you a hernia, then you get some privacy, and you do take clothes off where it's reasonable. Now this is the Assmann procedure to get an idea of the lung without taking all the clothes off a person. It is the direct percussion on the clavicular, and it gives you a very good idea, because tuberculosis, which is the most frequent complaint of the lungs here, starts in these points usually. The tuberculosis and rheumatism in the men is related to the fact that they have very little land here to live on. So they accept cattle here to be fed, because they don't have enough grass. So the men walk into the cold water up to their chest and pull out the weeds, these underwater weeds, for the cattle to feed on. And they get terribly cold, and they get rheumatism and other illnesses. We don't stay with the same community for a long time. We try to have somebody trained to be a rural nurse, and they carry on, and we leave that place and go to some other community who have called us.
La diferencia que existe entre el trabajo de la doctora y...
The difference between Doctora and other doctors is that she's closer to the people, the peasants. I think more than anything else, it's the way she treats people. She shows respect for the campesinos, for their culture and their medicine. She doesn't impose her own medical tradition.
There are many things we remember from childhood when we went to the Indian villages, and as people didn't know what a vaccination was, she used to take us to put the vaccine, and then the Indians would have more confidence and would allow their own children to be vaccinated also. Also during the many revolutions, she has been always going out to the country or to the city helping the wounded, and we stayed once, even during the revolution of 46, we stayed under the table while she was operating because she didn't want to leave us alone, staying at home.
The complete Aymara family isn't just people. The family also extends into the surrounding landscape. In La Paz, most people are related to Mount Iliman. Near Lake Titicaca, many families are related to this black, fertile earth on the ground of the lake. And also when a little child is raising his or her flock in the Altiplano, no person in sight, they needn't be afraid because their great-great-grandfather, the Limani, is watching over them. Yeah, for a doctor, that looks like very good mental hygiene. It plants you firmly into the soil of your own earth and your own homeland, far above the very shifting human relationships.
When there's a need for legal services in a particular community, Doctora tells me, and I travel with her in a mobile clinic. I came here to Huichicota today because the people of this village have a school. You can see it back there. It has 21 pupils, and it's been operating since 1980. But it operates as a private school. I mean, the people of the village pay the teacher, who is standing next to me. The villagers and teacher here ask me to apply to the Ministry of Education so they can become a public school and the teacher can be paid by the government.
¿Qué día vamos?
¿A dónde, doctora?
A Asunta vamos. No,
al otro.
Al otro fin de semana.
El 24 vamos. 24, jueves.
That is the fruit of hard work in cold and a cold climate and with little food. You see, this hurts very much. That is arthritis. The woman isn't really very old. She is just something over 60 years old. You see how these fingers can't bend very well anymore. It is lack of vitamin A. The corticosteroids, that's celestone and such, formerly cortisone, now we have better things, do even straighten the fingers out a little. And then you give just simple things like aspirin against the pain. And then you kind of straighten out the food uses. So Don Vicente goes and helps the lower lands where they have some place to go, because here it wouldn't go, to grow vegetables and how to use them.